Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll, and today we're going to talk some Halo. With the adaptation coming to the end of its first season, I thought to myself, well, what better time than now to actually read the first Halo novel? Um, Back in my heyday of playing video games, Halo was probably like the pinnacle of all that. When it came around, I want to say 2001, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I just remember spending hours and hours as a kid playing the video game, and I loved it for the story mode more more so than for the multiplayer, and I kind of went all the way through the series that way. And then I've been watching the TV show, and it's different for sure than the games. But I wanted to kind of see, okay, I'll read the first novel and kind of see how that mixes with all the genres. And um, so we'll go ahead and get into the review here. No big spoilers. Of course, this is the first book in the series, so if we continue, maybe we'll get into a little bit more of a spoiler type thing. But first and foremost, this is a military style book. So if you're not into a lot of military strategy and action that is very detailed in what they're doing, then this probably isn't going to be the book for you. I actually think that even somebody who is into military books but not into sci-fi could still read this book and enjoy it. Um, and also, that's not really my favorite thing. So there were parts in this book where I'm kind of like, okay, let's move this along. Enough of the details and the planning, and and they are very detailed in the sci-fi aspect of this as well. Talking about jump drives and gravity wells and all that good stuff and how the weapons work. To me, that was the funnest part. Was learning about the Monier armor that we all know. Um, that John Master Chief wears, and you get to learn about how only the Spartans can use it and why only the Spartans can use it. Um, so you get a lot of detailed backstory in this. You get to see a lot more of John as a little kid up through teenage years until adulthood in this. You get a little bit of that in the show, but I will say differences between like Halsey in the video games in this book and then in the TV show, especially from this to the TV show, um, she seems to actually care a little bit more about the kids in this book than she does in the TV show. Um, you know, there's different ways they're kind of going about it, about not telling them about, or should we tell them what we did, taking them away from their families and such things. But one thing that is very close is how Halsey is portrayed um, in this book and in the show, as far as how the government feels about her. It's very similar, and she's very thought of as like being the smartest of humanity, and she feels very similar. Like everything she has done to further humanity and to save us. And she kind of feels like, well, whatever type of crimes you think I committed, well, I'm the reason, and my Spartans are the reason that humanity is still alive. Which is exactly the way she feels in the show. Now, in the book here, we have never seen the Covenant. This is the very first contact with the Covenant, and we realize that we are traditionally overmatched by them, and this whole book is pretty much where they're taking all the outer colonies, and we're trying to figure out a way to be able to do anything to them. And the only thing that's been effective at all is the Spartan program and Master Chief. Um, he has been, at the forefront, the tip of the spear. Um, in this, you get a lot of internal dialogue from the Master Chief, and you kind of get to know him a lot more in this book than you do in the video games. As far as how he feels on the inside, that he does feel fear. He does have these emotions, which is more similar to the show, where they do feel all these emotions, but they're very dulled, and they're very focused, and he doesn't break focus, and that's a big thing in this. And kind of also, they're in the show, they're making him out, and in the video games, like there's something special about him, and they kind of go along those lines in this book, where he's always been better than most, even before any augmentation or anything. There's always something about him that made him better than most kids. When it comes to the games and fighting, he was always just naturally gifted and naturally super smart. Um, but I would say, if you are a hardcore Halo fan, you definitely should read this book, at least this first one, and you'll get all the good backstory on the Master Chief that you could ever want. Um, but if you are not into, you know, military fantasy, military sci-fi, heavy details, especially in the beginning, it loosens up a little bit um, as they go on, but heavily, in the beginning, it's very military focused details. And if you're one of those people who likes like assassin schools, or like training schools, training montages, and all that, that's heavy at the beginning. So even if you're not into sci-fi, maybe that's something that would be up your alley. But we are just about to pass the 100 subscriber mark. So remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and one of you is going to win the autographed poster. So I can't wait to see what you guys think about Halo, the adaptation, the game, or the book. So we'll see you soon.